recognizing the importance of all of those different types of career options. We've also been able to see things, I think, coming in like with STEM, with also providing things specifically for gender differences, where maybe some girls were hesitant to come in. One thing I've seen as far as public education with their diversity is that they're embracing projects and programs like Girl Start. Are any of you familiar with Girl Start? Where they come in, for instance, in Georgetown and free to the schools. This group will come in and bring in, for instance, a female astronaut to let the girls realize this is available to you. And that's what we want as teachers, is to let our students know what your parents did is separate from what you can do. The doors are all open for you. It's up to you. So for me, when we talk about diversity, it's getting people to own up to their own opportunities and responsibility to keep that door open, to be prepared to walk through that door. And I think that's real important to realize that we need to embrace wherever you are, wherever you start, to let our students know that's where you are now, but where you go is up to you. And as a classroom teacher, as a university professor, we're there to say we're going to help you get there, but you need to do the work to get there. So diversity to me also is something that should not be viewed as a hindrance. And I'll share with you in a moment my personal experience as far as being a female in the legislature and what that is like. I'll let you wonder what my experiences were, because I can't wait to share it with you. You know, there are stereotypical ideas, aren't there, about what it's like to be in certain places and do certain things. But I really believe once we let students realize that the door is open to them, and we make sure that they realize they need to take control, they need to be the one driving that car, not to blame mom, not to blame dad, not to say I don't like the teacher, but to empower that student to take control of their lives, regardless of their gender, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their financial standing of their parents. Empower our students to embrace who they are, where they are, and to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Larry Gonzalez. I am from Williamson County. For the purposes of this panel, I will give you a part of my background and bio that I don't say much and maybe probably never ever said publicly. But I think for the purposes of this discussion, it's important to know where I'm coming from and why I'm saying what I'm going to say today. My great-grandfather came here, started the Spanish-speaking Pentecostal church in Texas. My grandfather came here also illegally, and he became a naturalized citizen when my father was in junior high school. My grandfather has a third-grade education. My grandmother has a fifth-grade education. And together, working with their backs and their hands, they made a fortune because they worked very hard in a society where they weren't educated and they didn't speak English. My father went to the University of Texas at Austin. Cumulative, my family has 13 degrees from that university. Everybody in my family has at least one, maybe two, like I do. The educational opportunity for my family was critical to success. My grandfather paid cash for all of us to go to school. My father's an aerospace engineer, 43 years at NASA, mission control, and we've done well. It's a long way from a guy who has a third-grade education selling cantaloupes in Pearland, Texas, who didn't speak English. And I've probably never have said that publicly because I said this last night to somebody privately. The issue we're talking about now is kind of a generational issue. My kids are 4 generations removed from that story. I'm 3 generations removed from that story. It's not something that I talk about or embrace or wave a flag about really because I'm just a Texan. People really like to prop me up on this Hispanic Republican thing. You'll never hear me say that. I'm a Republican who happens to be Hispanic. So I'm not one to sit here and talk about diversity, quite frankly, in kind of the way I think we're going to, because just Larry. I mean, it's kind of just it. My wife is Anglo. My kids are biracial. And thank goodness they're smart and beautiful like their mama. But my kids will benefit greatly from the work that my grandfather did 4 generations ago. My grandfather laid a groundwork that we will benefit from for a very long time. Now, it's my responsibility to take that and build it and make it better and make it stronger, continue to push my kids the way that I was pushed. But the opportunities that exist for my daughter as a 99 percentile taker of the PSAT as a sophomore and as biracial female, man, does she have some opportunity in this state. We met with her counselor, and her counselor just went on and on and on about how awesome that was. Yes. All the variables aside, she's also a pretty good kid. Without labels, she's still a pretty miraculous kid. Again, that's the mama side of that gene pool kicking in for me. But I think as we go forward, and we're going to answer some questions here in a second, I just want you to understand where I come from and kind of my background and who I am, because it does shape my thoughts on a lot of these different things. My family experience and my uncles and my aunts and the numbers of my aunts who didn't finish high school and worked very hard, and the opportunities available to a Hispanic female in 1963 versus a Hispanic female in 2016 for my daughter. It's a big difference. We've made some incredible, incredible strides. I think there are those who still like to talk about the differences. Isn't it important? We do. But I'm here to also tell you about the celebrations of a family named Gonzalez that in just 3 years have done some, 3 generations have done some pretty miraculous things, given some pretty cool opportunities. So when you hear me going forward, I just want you to keep that in your mind, because I don't think me talking to you about these issues means as much if you don't know my background on these issues. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor. And I just want to thank all my friends out there. It was District 12 at one time. That included Angelina County. And I see a lot of our friends from Angelina County, and I'm always indebted to Angelina County because they're the reason that State Representative White, well, there's a reason why James White is a state representative. I was once brave, too, as a classroom teacher. I don't know if Dr. Forney here ever taught at the middle school level.
Yes.
Okay, so you're really brave. I'm brave, too. We all taught. Okay, and I want to thank my 2 colleagues, definitely my state senator, he's out there somewhere, for hosting this event, along with my House colleague, Representative Clardy. Usually I'm able to spot him out because he's very tall, but I want to thank him for inviting me up. You know, this is a very interesting topic. The media likes to lead with it. You know, certain candidates say stuff or don't disavow stuff, and it stays in the media on and on and on. Obviously, in the professorial world, you know, there are a lot of subjects and topics and race and ethnicity. That seems to be a great market in academia. I probably participated in some of it myself at one time. And those of you that understood or experienced sort of my transition to the legislature back in 2010, you know what many people were saying in the Walmart line. You know, have you met the guy that's running in your district? And many folks said, yes, he's a very smart guy. He's a school teacher and a coach. And they said, yeah, we know that, but have you ever met him? And they said, yeah, we've met him. He's really a short guy from a very small unincorporated city in East Texas called Hillister. And they said, but do you really know him? They said, yeah, we know his last name is White, but have you just ever saw him? And you know what they were saying. Y'all out there acting like you didn't hear those conversations out there. And that's part of, I think, what my friend to my right is saying. You know, when we talk about this issue of race, we just really need to discuss it. But discussing it and discussing it with frankness, I'm glad to see a lot of my friends from Austin, a lot of the thought leaders in Texas, because we are really responsible for that discussion. And for obvious reasons, and let's just put this on the table, a lot of my friends in Austin tried to use that issue and tried to bring up that issue in my races. Now, let me tell you, James White is an elected official and a candidate, and it's okay. But as thought leaders, we often fall into this paradigm and use it to the extent that many of my friends used it, and it was very embarrassing and disrespectful to my constituents. Because yes, they did know me. Yes, we did walk from door to door. Yes, they did see my face on TV and on push cards. Yes, they did know that I was black. And many of them 4 years ago, 5 years ago, were Democrats, and that's changed. And they knew I was a Republican. So I hope that those of us, and of course none of those folks in Austin that brought those discussions up are in the audience, just to let some of you off the hook, okay? So it's important that if we are the thought leaders in this state, we understand that all communities in our great state have had these challenges with race and ethnicity. They're still negotiating these challenges locally. They should have the opportunity to negotiate them and deal with them in the context of our laws and our Constitution. And we should not use these issues to feed various agendas and political agendas and objectives.
It's great to be here, and I'm glad that we have a diverse panel. I am the token senator up here. So, you know, I have served, well, I didn't even think, therein lies a problem, but you've belonged to many classes. I've got a few things to say, and I'm gonna do it, you know, this is Brother James to me, not Representative James. I mean, he started that, we started it, and in politically correct world we live in, people would view that as not proper. But I do remember some discussions in the House when I was in the House, and Saffronia Thompson, Miss T, at the end of a very contested debate, I don't know what it was, contentious, it was hours in, and at the end of it, she said, "We're all Texans." And that just hit a nerve with me and kept a pretty strong accord with me. But I'm gonna kind of talk a big picture in diversity, and then I'm gonna kind of hone it down to how it applies to Senate District 28, because no disrespect intended to anything that will be said up here or not. It's just for information only. I think the one thing that is not unique amongst any people group or any type of political protected class or whatever we talk about when we talk about diversity, you've got to consider, and if you're people of faith, this will make a lot of sense to you. If you're not, then I hope I can make it make sense to you. But the original sin, which is self above others at all costs, regardless of the consequences to any. We're a fallen man. And so as we go through this diversity and we try to provide equal opportunity and legislate those things, there is one common denominator that makes that the challenge, and that we all are born into a selfish state. We want what's best for me, no matter what it does to you. So I think diversity, you have to consider that as an overall arching theme. We've almost diversified ourselves with people groups and classes and all kinds of different things out of a country. You know, synergy is the sum of the parts is better for the whole. We've got a situation, whether it's perceived or reality, and I think the Trump phenomenon, if you will, reflects this, that we've created an unprotected class by defact inside of a class. And that's whether it's real or not. There's some perception and anger out there that's feeding into it. So diversity is a very sensitive issue because it's a people issue. I will say you can look at the Texas legislature and see the changing times of Texas, and that's a good thing. And that shows that the process still works. I will say that in Texas we lead the country in a lot of the diversity issues, specifically to corrections and criminal justice reforms, because of this gentleman here and some other people that have made that a passion. But specifically, when you talk about a usable past, I'm very cognizant of revisionist and the political correctness of the day to be controversial for the sake of controversy and looking at our past. But what you had mentioned to the past is reality of my world I live in today. We talk about cows and cowboys. Today, I will have veterinarians that will be shoulder deep inside of a birth canal of a heifer delivering a calf. So working with cows today is still a reality in Senate District 28. 40,000 dead cattle from a snowstorm in January on the South Plains is still the reality I live in today. Oil and gas wildcatting, where men and companies and women put fortunes on the line to wildcat wells, which is a part of our culture and our history and reflects the earthiness and the independent spirit that make us the state we are and the leader in so many areas, is still a part of my heritage today in Senate District 28. So as we talk about some of the evolutions, there's no doubt that we are more of an urban population, but we still have a very diverse group of people in this state, geography, economic, social, ethnic, whatever you want to say. So if we ever lose or are willing to lose some of those things that are still very real today, that are very much a part of our past, we lose who we are as Texans, and the nation loses a diamond. And so the challenges we face will always be the challenges that we meet in the legislature. My Texas Tech Health and Human Services Center, or Science Center, serves a 108-county region. Several of those counties are what called frontier counties. There's one person per 7 square miles. 50 of those counties have no doctors. 30 of those counties have no hospital facilities. So when you talk about only urban, you know, I'm told that the current administration won 27% of the counties across the country to become elected. So we are very urban-centered, populist-centered, but you cannot lose the makeup of this state for any purpose or any reason or anything that we do. So therein lies Charles Perry's world. I could tell you about my background, and I don't have the challenges that some of these guys' grandparents and stuff did, but we're all Texans at the end of the day, and we're all Americans. And if we do not treat this discussion with the respect that it has and needs as we go about trying to find out how to govern humanity and the human condition, we will continue to get it wrong, and everybody loses.